Hello and welcome to The Critique. Today we are looking at a video transcript from the political show Chicks on the Right.
Yeah, and this one covers the escalating conflict around Candace Owens and the late Charlie Kirk's inner circle.
A lot of conspiracy theories swirling around this one.
Oh, absolutely. So let's just dive right into the first major area for improvement.
Great. So the hosts kick this off with, a ton of energy. They jump straight into Candace Owens asking for Erica Kirk's schedule.
They do. They read her post about crowdsourcing information for those 2 dates in September.
And the reaction is, well, it's instant. It's visceral. They're calling her Stocky McStockerson.
Sick bitch, I think, was the other one. It's very, very reactive.
It is. And while that energy, it pulls you in, it actually creates a bit of a strategic problem.
It does. To really elevate the critique here, the critique of Candace Owens' whole investigation, the material needs to first explain why she's doing it.
Before all the name-calling.
Before the name-calling, exactly.
Okay, but hold on. We usually tell people to show, don't tell, right? They're assuming their audience is already deep in this drama.
Mm-hmm.
If they stop to explain the whole backstory, don't they risk, boring the people who already know all of this?
That's a fair point. And usually I'd agree. But in this case, the risk of under-explaining is actually way higher.
Okay.
The weakness is that they jump straight to moral outrage without ever explicitly laying out the conspiracy theory she's trying to build. They mock the young mother thing, they focus on how creepy it all is, but they're assuming we all know about the Charlie Kirk assassination narrative.
Which only gets mentioned way later.
Way later, in a clip from Jeremy Boring. So they skip the most important piece of context.
I see what you mean. If I'm a listener who's been offline for, a day, and I hear them reading this tweet about a schedule, I might just think,
she's being nosy.
yeah, okay, she's acting like paparazzi.
Exactly. And that just completely lowers the stakes. It makes it all seem like petty personal drama.
But if you know the context,
If you know she's trying to build a timeline for a murder conspiracy, it transforms from just weird to genuinely dangerous.
Okay, so the suggestion here is to front-load that context. Talk about the assassination theory first, to really raise the stakes of the stalking accusation.
Precisely. You have to frame the narrative before you attack the behavior.
Okay, let's walk through this. I want to see how this would actually sound. Right now, they read the tweet and immediately say, look at Stocky McStockerson. How do you set that up better?
It doesn't have to be some long, drawn-out thing. But before they read that tweet, they just need to briefly reference the whole 50 episodes thing that comes up later.
Okay.
Something like, for months now, Candace has been hinting that Charlie Kirk didn't die of natural causes. She's building a murder mystery. And now, look at this tweet where she tries to find her smoking gun.
Oh, that changes everything. It immediately shifts the tone from look at this mean girl to
Look at this unhinged vigilante.
yeah.
And then when they get to the dates, the 8th and 9th, they shouldn't just say, why does she want these dates? That's so creepy. They should frame it as a clear attempt to manufacture holes in the official story. Explain why those dates matter to her whole narrative.
Which actually ties into that civic responsibility theme that comes up later in the Arizona Senate clip.
It does. It connects the dots. If you call it a vigilante investigation instead of just stalking, you're prepping the audience for the whole rest of the show. You're telling them this isn't just drama, folks. This is radicalization.
That's a really powerful shift. It takes the commentary from just reacting to, real analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on through the script, we get to a part that deals with some really deep emotional stuff.
The tribute.
The Arizona State Senate tribute to Erica Kirk. It's a very solemn moment. The host even says, I still can't believe he's gone. It's all about grief.
It's a touching moment. It really grounds the whole thing and reminds you a real person is at the center of this.
But then, and this felt like a total record scratch to me, immediately after that, they pivot to the Dilly Meme Team video.
Yeah.
This super high-energy profane clip that Trump retweeted, and it ends with, shut the fuck up and let him cook.
Right. That transition is rough.
To say the least.
And that's the next point. The juxtaposition of that solemn tribute against this aggressive meme video creates a really jarring tonal dissonance. It just undermines the emotional weight of the tribute.
Do you think they did that on purpose, maybe? To show the duality of the movement or something? Or does it just feel like a mistake?
Even if it's on purpose, it's a huge risk. The weakness is that you go directly from this tearful reflection on grief.
Where the host is being so vulnerable and empathetic.
Right. And then you slam into this profane, aggression-fueled video. That sudden shift from empathy to they can F off, it just gives the audience emotional whiplash.
It feels like their sympathy for Erica is sort of compartmentalized. Like, okay, we did the sad part, check, now back to the fight.
Exactly. It's hard for a listener to sit in that moment of reverence when they're immediately getting blasted with, shut the F up. It doesn't give the grief any room to breathe.
So how do you fix this without just cutting one of the clips? Because they're both pretty relevant.
The suggestion is to use a bridging commentary that acknowledges the energy shift. Or honestly, just reorder the segment. Group the emotional stuff away from the combativeness.
Let's talk reordering first. That seems like the simplest fix.
It is. I would take that Arizona Synod tribute and put it at the very, very end of the episode.
Oh, I like that. That leaves the listener on a much higher note.
It separates the solemnness from the dilly meme team aggression completely. You do the political mudslinging, the fight, the satire, and then you end with, but amidst all this noise, here's what was actually lost. It honors the memory after the battle.
Okay, but let's say they're really committed to the current structure. Maybe it follows the news cycle chronologically. If they keep the order, how do they bridge that gap?
They have to write a much better transition. They can't just say, and then Trump tweeted this. They need to frame the Trump retweet not just as the funny video he liked,
but as something else.
As a defense of the movement Charlie helped build.
So you link them explicitly.
Right. You frame the aggression in the video as the necessary defense of the values they were just talking about in the tribute. Something like, we are grieving this loss, and that is exactly why this video from Trump matters, because it shows the fight for Charlie's legacy is still going on.
That turns a jarring cut into a real narrative progression. That's actually really useful advice for any show that has to mix moods like that. Okay, let's move on to how they rebut Candace Owens' tweets. Specifically the one where she says, yes, we are ruled by satanic pedophiles who work for Israel.
And calls it the synagogue of Satan. It's very heavy, loaded language.
Right, pure conspiracy rhetoric. And the host's response is mostly just disbelief. One of them says, Jeffrey Epstein is a Jew. Doesn't mean the entire nation of Israel is bad.
They ask, couldn't it just be that Jeffrey Epstein was a bad person?
Exact. Which brings us to the third big critique.
The rebuttal to that tweet relies way too heavily on just incredulity. It doesn't dismantle the rhetorical trap that Owens has set.
But I want to push back on that. What's wrong with just stating the obvious? I mean, it's true. Not all Jewish people are Jeffrey Epstein. Isn't that enough?
It's factually true, but as a rhetorical argument, it's weak. The weakness is that it only engages with the accusation on the surface.
Okay.
It completely misses the chance to expose the logical fallacy, the actual mechanism that she's using to hook her audience. She isn't just making a mistake, she's using a very specific tactic.
So by just saying Epstein was a bad guy, they're playing defense.
When they should be deconstructing the offense. They're trying to reason with an unreasonable premise instead of showing the audience how the premise was built in the first place.
Okay, so what's the suggestion? How do they do that?
They have to strengthen the argument by identifying the specific conspiratorial technique she's using. The technical term for it is synecdoche.
Whoa, okay, pause. Synecdoche. That's a pretty academic word. If they just drop that into a show called Chicks on the Right, aren't they going to lose people?
Oh, they absolutely will if they don't explain it. But that's the opportunity. Synecdoche is it's taking a part of something and making it stand for the whole thing.
Like saying, check out my new wheels when you mean your car.
Exactly. But here it's being weaponized. So they can make it super accessible. Instead of asking, couldn't it just be that Epstein was a bad person? They should state it explicitly. Owens is using a trick here. She takes one bad actor, Epstein, and uses him to smear an entire group. It is a classic manipulation tactic.
That definitely adds more weight to it. It stops being about a difference of opinion and starts being about manipulation.
And to really make it stick for their audience, they should connect it to how they defend Trump later in the show.
Oh, that's smart. Use their own logic.
Exactly. Later on, they point out how Trump's critics focus on his mistakes, like the whole auto pen administration thing in the meme.
To dismiss his entire presidency.
Right. They're already arguing against that kind of generalization for Trump, so they can just say, just as the media uses one mistake to paint Trump as incompetent, Candace Owens is using one bad actor to paint Israel as satanic.
Bingo. That uses an analogy their audience already gets to completely dismantle her logic. It shows their worldview is consistent. It's not just, I disagree with her, it's she's doing the exact thing we hate when the left does it.
That is a brilliant way to align the audience against the tactic, and it turns the critique into a lesson in media literacy.
Absolutely. Okay, let's look at the very end of the transcript. The show wraps up with a parody video.
Right, from Lyle Culpepe, the sketch about her pronunciation.
He mocks her for saying revelations instead of revelation, and for mispronouncing architecture. The hosts think it's hilarious. They call it perfection. It's a funny, lighthearted end.
It is funny. We all love a good laugh. But there's a real risk here.
Okay.
The inclusion of that parody video risks trivializing all the serious accusations of antisemitism and harassment that came before it.
I can see that. You spend the whole show talking about stalking, assassination plots, and satanic pedophiles, and then you end on bad grammar?
Exactly. The weakness here is that the episode concludes on linguistic nitpicking. While it's entertaining, ending there really weakens the gravity of everything else. It reduces a figure they just described, using Jeremy Boring's words, as damaging and destructive.
To just someone who talks funny?
Right. It lets the listener walk away thinking, oh, she's just kind of dumb, instead of she is a calculated threat. It deflates the tension way too much.
So do they cut the video? It's a pretty good clip.
No, the video's gold, but the suggestion is to tie the ridicule of her speaking style back to that substantive critique from Jeremy Boring.
About her being a carnival barker?
That's the one. That phrase was the anchor of his whole clip. So you connect the mispronunciations to that.
How so?
You frame the mispronunciations not as just funny slips, but as direct evidence of that entertainment first, facts second approach Boring was talking about. You can say, she doesn't care about getting the words right. Just like she doesn't care about getting the facts right. It's all just a performance.
That bridges the gap perfectly. It makes the bad grammar a symptom of the bad journalism.
They could even use the specific joke from the parody, the part where he struggles to say compartmentalize.
Oh, that's good.
The hosts can use that to call back to their own earlier point about how Owens can't separate her personal vendettas from her commentary.
Lyle is joking that she can't say the word, but the reality is she can't do the act. She cannot compartmentalize her hate.
That is excellent. Yes. It turns the joke into a metaphor, and then you conclude by saying that while the mispronunciations are funny, those carnival barker skills are exactly what make the stalking campaign so effective.
So you blend the satire with the warning.
Don't just laugh at the clown. Remind the audience the clown is dangerous.
You know, it seems like the big theme of our whole critique today is really integration. Integrating context, integrating tone, and integrating the satire back into the main point.
That's the key. The source material has all the right pieces. It has the evidence, the emotion, the rebuttal, the humor. But right now, they're all sitting in their own little silos.
Right, like, here's the news bit, here's the sad bit, and here's the funny bit.
And we want them to weave it all into one cohesive story.
Let's circle back to that first point about the why for a second. When the hosts say, stop it, about the young mother defense, they are reacting to a very specific thing Candace does all the time.
Yes, but imagine a listener coming in cold. They hear Candace is investigating Erica Kirk. Without that assassination context, that listener could think, well, isn't that what she does? Why are we mad at her for asking questions?
Just asking question, the ultimate shield.
Exactly. So the hosts need to shatter that shield immediately. That's why front-loading the conspiracy theory is non-negotiable. You have to strip Candace of the journalist label before you can really mock the young mother defense. You have to say, this is not journalism, this is a setup.
That's a great distinction. Delegitimize the action before you delegitimize the person.
And that flows right into the anti-Semitism rebuttal, too. If you just say she's wrong about Epstein, you're debating facts. But she isn't debating facts. She's spinning a narrative.
Right.
If the hosts don't identify the narrative structure, the whole synagogue of Satan rhetoric, they're bringing a knife to a gunfight. They need to show their audience how they are being manipulated, not just that they are being lied to.
This has been a really robust breakdown. We've covered a lot of ground. So maybe we should recap the 4 main areas where the listener can strengthen this commentary.
Sure. So, first, establish the assassination conspiracy context early. Explain the why behind the stalking allegations so the audience gets the severity of it right away.
Second, manage those tonal shifts. That whiplash between the Kirk tribute and the Trump retweet needs to be fixed. Either move the tribute to the end or write a much better bridge that connects the grief to the fight.
Third, we talked about deepening the logical rebuttal. When you're dealing with these kinds of conspiracy theories, simple denial just isn't enough. You have to identify the rhetorical strategies, like synecdoche, that are being used to manipulate people.
And finally, anchoring the satire. Connect that pronunciation segment to the broader argument about entertainment versus substance. Make the joke about her being a carnival barker, not just about her messing up a word.
By implementing those structural and tonal adjustments, the material is going to offer a much more cohesive and, frankly, persuasive argument to the listener.
Absolutely. It's really about taking all the strong raw material they already have, their passion, their knowledge, and just arranging it for maximum impact.
Exactly. The pieces are all there. They just need to be put in the right order and given the right frame.
Thank you for tuning into The Critique. We hope these insights help you sharpen your next piece of work. And as always, we invite you to submit it back to us again for more feedback.
Keep refining, keep challenging your own structures, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.